Hello, my name is Marta Musso and I am a visiting research fellow at King's College London, as well as research manager at the Archives Portal Europe Foundation. Today I would like to present the history and functioning of Archives Portal Europe as a repository of archival repositories. Archives Portal Europe is an interesting and quite unique example of online aggregator for archival heritage. It was established in the context of two parallel phenomena: the relaunch towards European integration following the fall of the Berlin Wall, and the attempts on part of archival institutions, but also records managers, to think supranationally rather than in a national perspective, thanks to digital technologies. Archives Portal Europe acts as a single online gateway for archives that hold archival heritage related to Europe, so either Europe-based institutions, material from Europe, or that relates to European cultures and history, material on Europe. I use Europe as a cultural and geographical identity, not in reference to the European Union. Currently, the network is composed of 35 countries, including Georgia, Serbia, and Iceland, 24 plus languages, and 5 different alphabets. It holds information on more than 7,000 archival institutions, of which over 1,100 actively contribute with content, providing more than 270 million archival descriptive units to the portal. The archival material described is extremely varied, spanning from antiquity to the 21st century, and it comes from a variety of institutions, from national archives to community archives, private institutions, parish archives, university archives, foundations, etc., etc. It is a repository of repositories because it aggregates and merges all these catalogs into a single research point. There are 3 levels of information that each archival institution can make available on Archives Portal Europe. Simply be on the directory with information about opening hours, access conditions, and contact details, so information about the institution itself. Or they can provide the archival descriptions of the material held in the institutions, the holding guides, the source guides, finding aids, depending on the level of details, which allows the researchers to actually search into the catalogs. And finally, we could say the optimized level, the archival description to item level, linking to the documents themselves, if digitized and made available online by the institution itself on their website. So Archives Portal Europe does not hold any digital item directly, nor works on digitization processes. It aggregates single historical archives projects available online, and it ingests archival descriptions, so basically metadata. The level of information available on the portal depends on the maturity level of the digital strategy for historical archives of an institution or of a country, and on the difficulties of preparing the digitized archival descriptions for ingestion. But in general, being in the directory is a promise that the institution is working to ingest its full digitized catalog into the portal, and that once a collection will be digitized, then the link to that digital object will become available on Archives Portal Europe. As I said, currently there are more than 7,000 archival institutions in the directory, of which over 1,000 already provide content. The project of Archives Portal Europe was conceived within the European Archives Group, the European Commission Experts Group set up in 2003, and stemmed directly from a set of recommendations proposed by the European Council between 2003 and 2005, which aimed at reflecting on the opportunities and challenges of 2 parallel events: the enlargement of the European Union to the east and the digitalization process, a revolution in information exchange amongst countries, the Council geographical and economic constraints. The 2005 report on archives in the enlarged European Union suggested as a concrete action to establish an ad hoc working group which will coordinate the creation of the gateway, with the aim to enable all citizens in the EU member states to carry out searches on the internet for information held in digital form across national boundaries, and to access and download copies of the digital documents of interest to them. Interestingly, The report identified archival institutions as the most apt bodies to shape the World Wide Web, intended as an infrastructure for information retrieval. Another quote from the report stated that the Internet has helped to position archives as irreplaceable professional providers of information about the past and the roots of the common identity of communities. In other words, the web was seen as an instrument to promote European integration by incentivizing archival institutions to operate with a supranational mindset. By 2005, many countries in Europe had set up national-level projects to create national databases of finding aids available on the web, and to gather into one web space the different instances created by single archives. The report listed 49 projects in 13 countries, as well as 7 supranational initiatives for interoperability. There was a lot of attention to look for cooperation on the lines of linguistics or historical affinity. France, Spain, and the Netherlands, with former colonies, with which they shared a history, obviously, but also Poland, about Polish communities in the world, for example. Less than a third of these projects survived to these days. However, these were the pilot projects from which national-level portals, Europeana, and obviously Archives Portal Europe took shape. In 2008, 12 national archives, together with the newly established Europeana, the portal for digitized European cultural heritage, obtained funding to set up the Archives Portal Europe network, with the aim of building this gateway of archives, conceived as an online metadata repository from European archives. The first version of Archives Portal Europe went online in January 2012, with 14 million descriptive units, descriptions of archival records, from 61 European archival institutions, which are what we call content providers. While the AppNet project laid the basis for such a gateway to national archives, its success for the Archives Portal Europe Network of Excellence, APEX, expanded horizontally towards a network of more than 30 partner countries, as well as vertically, by including a broad variety of institutions, such as private archives, community archives, audiovisual archives, etc. At the end of the APEX project, 20 of the partners decided to continue the project through the establishment of the Archives Portal Europe Foundation. Ingestion in the portal can be done in 3 ways. A single institution prepares ad hoc its archival descriptions so that they are in Archives Portal Europe. A single institution imports its already digitized catalogs, which are available on a national level website. Or a national level aggregator imports its whole repository, including hundreds of institutions. For example, the UK with Archives Hub, France with France Archive, or Spain with Pares. As for standards, the portal repository follows the Council of Archives metadata standards, namely the encoded archival description and the corporate bodies, persons, and families. As part of the AppNet project, the use of these standards was harmonized based on how the partner institutions of Archives Portal Europe had implemented the encoded archival description for their collections, which was almost a different one for each country. You can imagine that the archives of public administrations on all levels have been influenced and are to a certain extent bound to the administrative organization of the state. This is not only reflected in the materials these institutions hold and in the way they are described, but also in the organizational relationships between national, regional, and local institutions. The hierarchical structure of the documents then needs to integrate standards in a very open way in order to allow users to visualize the information in a coherent way. For this reason, Archives Portal Europe has tweaked these international standards to create its own versions, which are maintained and updated by the Foundation through a working group of standards, in order to be always up to date both with the evolution of international standards and with web technologies. Unlike other web-based aggregators, Archives Portal Europe has made the choice to give to the single institutions complete control over every step of data processing, from ingestion to quality control. This allows each institution to decide on the amount and timing of uploads and updates according to their own schedule, and also how to share their data. At the same time, the lack of uniformity and this bottom-up approach create a series of challenges, such as the usage of software at a national or institution level that do not allow to export in the right format for ingestion in the portal. Very different levels of understanding a hierarchical structure, which makes it very difficult to render a visualization that works for every institution and tradition. Difficulties in updating and maintaining certain metadata that are fundamental to do research on an online portal. One typical example is the date. Many institutions put the date at a title level, so that the date of a document is not machine readable, making it useless to filter by date, which is by now an expected feature of digital search. There are different filters available on Archives Portal Europe that unfortunately, at the moment, only work for a small portion of its repository. Not all institutions have the means to keep updating the metadata once ingested. For example, one typical problem with Archives Portal Europe is that when a link to a digital object changes on the website of the institution, it needs to be updated also on the portal, and not all institutions have the means to re-ingest these informations. Multilingualism is another important technical as well as political challenge. Archives Portal Europe follows the same criteria as state archives, hence it must be open and accessible universally, not just by the chunk of population that speaks English or another one of the most popular languages. However, it will be also impossible to translate the archive descriptions in all languages. The solution adopted for now is to have the interface of the portal in all languages, while leaving the archival descriptions strictly in the language of origin. In the redesign of the portal, that will be launched at the end of the year, however, it will be possible to translate automatically any finding aid with Google Translate. Multilinguality at the same time is a fundamental feature. Approaching an online portal means being at the crossroad of the old creator-based way to search an archive and the new Google-like information retrieval way, which is based on keywords, hence it's based on language. We allow to search in a multilingual environment through different tools. Firstly, we have Boolean operators and wildcards in place, so that if I search for Napoleon spelled in this way, I will obtain much more return, and I can also combine spellings in different alphabets. Secondly, we have topics. Searching by keywords mostly means searching with a specific topic in mind, not a record creator. Archives Portal Europe is doing a lot of research on topic modeling in order to allow users to filter down to the topic of interest before embarking in a keyword search. Again, this is still at an initial stage because not all institutions have used topic labeling amongst the metadata that we allow to add to the archival descriptions, and also because different traditions cause to use different topic associations. However, we are experimenting with an AI tool for automated topic modeling in order to automatize this function. Topic detection is also at the core of the new crowdsourcing functionalities that the portal redesign will put into place. In the next phase of the portal, any user will be able to label finding aids with specific topics in order to help us improving this fundamental metadata point. In general, we consider crowdsourcing a fundamental part of online research because it is at the core of web-based social machine, like Archives Portal Europe aims to be for archivists and archive researchers. At the end of the day, any project of this kind can thrive and last in the long term if its community of users sustain it and see the importance of using aggregated archival material. Thank you for your attention.